yeah.
In case you haven't read all 44 pages of the Trump indictment.
Oh.
The number 3 of 4, about to be, right?
Uh-huh. Oh, there's going to be more. You know, the funny part is that they think that this works.
Yeah.
It's the definition of insanity.
All right, welcome Northern Neck Regional Jail. August 4th, 2023. This is day 939 since January 6th, and we're going to start off with the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, our Father in heaven, we ask you to bless all of the people in the Northern Neck Jail, Lord, the staff, the officers, the inmates, Lord, and we ask you to bless all the J6ers who are in prison. We ask you, Lord, to bless their families, provide for them, Lord, and we ask you to guide us in our work, guide us in our direction, Father, in Christ Jesus' Son. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I thought that was a counter protest going on there. We're not going to take it anymore.
That's my ringtone. 804 number, so I don't know what that was.
The reason this past Tuesday, when we were going to have Mickey Whithoff call in to our Patriot group, I never did tell anybody why that didn't happen, but she had texted me that they were having a severe amount of counter protesters there, and you know, they put on such a ruckus. They've got loudspeakers with siren noises and just complete chaos, and she said via text that you won't be able to hear us, so we didn't get to do that. But here's a shout out to Mickey and everyone associated, Tammy, Tommy, Nicole, you know, all the other people that are there coming in from very far away, as far as Gulag on Freedom Corner. I hope they get a sign someday that says Freedom Corner.
That would be nice.
Yeah, and they've been doing that since August 1st of last year, so 1 year. Now, we're coming up on a year here in October. I don't know the exact date, we'd have to look back, but if we can keep it going, that'd be awesome. As long as we're making a difference for these guys and giving them a voice. So we're hoping that we're going to get some calls tonight. Last week was Julian Cater called in for the first time, and Julian was in upstate New York. We had a nice conversation with him. He's got an interesting set of circumstances that he's dealing with. And then I think tonight there's been some little bit of prodding and encouragement to get a couple of guys to call in. But remember, DC jail was not allowing calls out. Their phone systems were still a mess as of earlier this past week.
And I'm hearing that there's still little hiccups going on.
I'm sure there are hiccups there.
I called on Monday or whatever. They said I called the DC jail on Monday. They said, "Oh, everything has been fine. Are you talking about inmates, getting in touch with inmates at the jail?" I said, "Yeah. We haven't been able to get calls in or calls out. Things are being dropped because, well, everything's fine." So we'll see what kind of lie that may be.
Captain English did the same thing once before. Everything's fine.
Probably standard response. I mean, think about it, all the calls they've gotten, because they got a lot. I just know the first week we put out the action item, they got a lot of call to action, they got a lot of calls. So let's go through the roster and just clear that out, because I think we are going to get some people ringing in. I sorted the list again by duration of sentence, and there's a few that I need to get on here and update that. So yeah, I'd be happy to. It's sortable, it's just an Excel sheet. But anyway, Patrick McCoy, 90 months. These are people that have come through the Northern Neck Regional Jail, just for anybody listening. Kyle Young, 86 months. Howard Adams, 8 months. I don't know how that's sorted that way. Hosea Kenyon, 72 months. Robert Morse, 66 months. Mark Ponder, 63 months. Ronald Sandlin, 63 months. Mark Mazza, 60 months. Barry Ramey, 60 months. Jeffrey Brown, 54 months. Lucas Denny, 52 months. Jeffrey Sills, 52 months. Justin Jersey, 51 months. Kenneth Harrelson, 48 months. Howard Richardson, 46 months. Nick Lagerand, 44 months. Cash Kelly, 4 months. Again, sorting messed up here. William Rogan Reed, 37 months. Nick Brockhoff, 36 months. Matthew Miller, 33 months. David Judd, 32 months. Ricky Wilden, 24 months. Troy Sargent, 14 months. Ronnie Presley, 12 months. Mahala Pryor, a month and a half. And there's a few I have to fill in, but I'll keep on going down the list. So Michael Perkins, we spoke to last week. Zachary Alam, Tim Boehner, Mason Corson. Mason, I apologize. I know that I was there at your sentencing, so I'll get you updated. Israel Easterday, Brandon Fellows, James Grant, Matthew Green, Adam Jackson, Brian Jackson, Samuel Lazar, Marcus Malley, Jonathan Mellis, Jonathan Munafo, Daryl Neely, Ethan Nordine, William Norwood, Dominic Pizzola, Chris Quaglin, Zach Rail, Thomas Robertson, Daniel Rodriguez, Jeffrey Sable, Ryan Samsel, Andrew Taki, and Enrique Tario. So I think we're up to 53 individuals that have been through here. All right, welcome, folks.
Thanks.
Hello. How are y'all doing?
Should we sit back here?
Come on up. You might put a microphone in your hand.
No, I don't need a microphone.
I figured as much.
I got bug spray if you need it. All right, good. Yeah, so it's our usual venue out here, and do the national anthem at the end. So one of the nights we actually got to sing the national anthem with the guys in the DC jail.
It was
That
awesome.
was fantastic.
Tearjerker.
That was a great night. So again, we're hoping that people start calling a little bit after 7, and then we just let them tell their stories.
I need to talk to Robert.
Well, you want to talk? So in the meantime, we're just kind of filling things up here and offering little bits of things. So here you go.
It's our birthday month. He's going to be 30 on August 20th, and I'm going to be blah, blah, blah on August 17th. So,
21.
21.
Yes.
So I just wanted to just say that we're going to have the same birthday month, that's all.
Now, that's awesome, and you reminded me of that we've got to get their birth dates on our list. So I think we can do that. Maybe we just got to ask them if they want to share that kind of stuff when they call. But so I didn't get to make it to the jail board meeting on Wednesday. You two went. Susan Sills was there. She gave me a little update. She said that,
Pretty short.
yeah, I did see the agenda, which I sent to you guys beforehand. But that Superintendent Hall is retiring as of the end of the year, so effective January 1. Did they talk?
29th is his last day.
December 29th.
So December 29th is his last day at work.
Did they say anything about
So-
who's going to take his place?
No, actually, so first of all, December, I want to get this on the mic. So December 29th is his last day working. January 1st is his first day of retirement. There was no discussion of who would be replacing him, although, you know, if they go into private session for personnel matters. My instinct tells me the assistant, a female, Michelle, what's her last name? Anyways, so, and I've spoken to a couple of the sheriffs, Johnny Beecham for one, and there's a fairly good degree of confidence in who's coming in behind him as far as demeanor, ethics, things like that. So going forward, there's room for optimism for the pretrial detainees here. And I don't want to isolate it to J6ers, because pretrial detainees are the ones that are suffering at the hand of the perverse. So it's pretrial detainees, and that's all by itself. That's a Sixth Amendment thing, but I can count First, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth Amendment, Eighth, and 14th Amendments have been violated for all of these guys.
And
So
from there we went to the Board of Supervisors meeting in
so we left
And then get home to the
from
evening.
here, went to the Board of Supervisors meeting. Interesting discussions during that meeting and after that meeting. It was interesting. So they I don't mean to change the topic, but they formed just this side of a citizens advisory board to help them with various problems. The first one on the list being the schools. So that was cool. But that's where we are. And right now, it looks like there's some underlings from the superintendent here that are going to be stepping up one pay grade, or kind of optimistic about the potential for improvements for the better here. But in general, I also know that this isn't the only place. It's probably the worst place in the country, but it's not the only place that's bad. And the way we treat pretrial detainees has to be corrected.
Thanks, Maurice. So you said this place is worse than just about any place. Not to argue, but I had seen a text here that I wanted to share. So let me find that real quick.
Someone mentioned it really back a while back, and it's still here in this state.
So this has to do with Marcus Malley, who was here. He went from which is apparently worse than the Northern Neck Regional Jail. So here's to Northern Neck Regional Jail. There's a place worse than this.
Wow.
Anyway, so it sounds like, you know, a lot of these guys are getting a run around in the diesel therapy they talked about so often, just driving them around.
Yeah. That's
So another thing, I wasn't able to be with you guys, but you might have spurred this, someone did, asked about any of the regulations that had changed in Virginia with the legislation that was working through for jail reform. So I pulled up, it's very easy, just do a search for new laws in Virginia. So all the laws take effect July 1st, and so here's a list. It's put out by the Virginia Division of Legislative Services. It's called In Due Course, and it's a selection of legislation passed by the 2023 regular session of the General Assembly that is likely to affect the daily lives of citizens of Virginia. And the following legislation was put into effect on July 1. I don't have the whole list. I just stopped at the things that were interesting to me related to the jail. So there's something, HB 2258 on alcohol beverage control, commerce. Corrections is where I went. So there were two bills in corrections that came into law. One of them has to do with parole boards, and just to boil it down, it's half a page or more, but I think it's a way of documenting why parole boards are denying parole for people and getting that out in the public record, so it's not just this closed door thing. So that sounds like it's a good sunshine kind of a rule. And the other one that I think is interesting is so House Bill 2487, Senate Bill 887. correctional facilities, use of restorative housing. Does anybody know what restorative housing is? Another word for solitary confinement.
Really?
Now, if you want to do a word salad spin on terminology,
That's
restorative
amazing that they did
housing. So here's the text of the bill. The law prohibits the use of restorative housing, defined in the law, in state correctional facilities, subject to certain exceptions. The law requires that an incarcerated person who has been placed in restorative housing be offered a minimum of 4 hours of out-of-cell programmatic interventions or other congregate activities per day aimed at promoting personal development or addressing underlying causes of problematic behavior.
That's a tall word.
So you remember talking, some of these guys have talked about 22 and 2,
Yeah.
22 hours in the hole and 2 hours out in the rest of the population or whatever.
Yeah.
And then another gentleman said that he had experienced 23 and 1. So, you know, what do they get to do in that hour or 2 out? Several of them have told us they get to just walk around in a room and exercise. They don't necessarily get put together with other people, get to socialize or have some sort of training or anything like that. It's just by the book, okay? You're out for 2 hours, you're back in. So now they've changed it to 4 hours. This second sentence is important. The law also requires the facility administrator to have a defined and publicly available policy and procedure for the process of transitioning an incarcerated person placed in restorative housing out of such housing and back to the general population of the facility. So they, as of July 1, needed to implement a plan on how they're going to do this. And what I think it's getting to is it's not only how are you getting them back into the general population, but why were they put there in the first place? So I think that's a good one to follow up on, if need be, by FOIA, but that's a question for the management here.
So it is.
And it seems to me that this is our stake. This is the stake in the ground that we're going to use, because if you look at placed in restorative housing, be offered a minimum of 4 hours. That's a minimum. That's not a ceiling. That's a lower limit. Words mean something here. And when it requires the administrator to have a defined and publicly available policy, that's a website issue. We shouldn't have to file FOIAs to get it. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. The transition thing is kind of nerve-wracking because it almost erases everything that came before it, potentially. It's scary. But we'll have to watch and see, because this is a step potentially in the right direction. Seriously. We may have. Well, it is, but I don't know that they considered the Northern Neck Patriots vigilance exclusively, but I'm sure that indirectly we had a hand in it, which is good. I mean, after all, there's no Chase 6 prisoners here today, so that's a good thing. Anyhow, yeah. So, and for mental health, 0 is bad, 4 is better, 24 is the best.
See, it's the light of day.
Weeks.
So the comment is about, here we know at the jail they have an outdoor recreational space. We toured it when we toured the jail. It's, I don't know, that direction over there, but it's concrete walls all around, you know, and concertina wire around the top, and it's pretty tall walls, so I'm sure between the hours of 10 and 2 you can see the sunshine, but they don't get out there. They are offered to get out there at 6 o'clock in the morning on certain days. Remember, one guy told us they couldn't go out because it was raining, and then then they had to go out because it was just some kind of mixed up thing, but I don't remember exactly what he said.
Normal inconsistencies that we've come used to.
We haven't seen outside life in months, weeks, whatever.
Yeah, and there's no exercise workout equipment here, none of that. There's an indoor half court basketball court, basically. That's the room that they put something like 80 individuals in there. Ron, you remember this.
Hard to play basketball like that.
And the one guy was having a seizure, but they were searching cells. They were turning cells over because somebody was allegedly had some contraband. So they put all of them in there, and they blamed the J6ers. So they told us up front when we toured that nobody knows what a J6er is, and you don't have to worry about them being mistreated. But they've used that, the management here has used that over and over again to create dissension amongst the population. These guys are racist. These guys are conspiracists. These guys are terrorists at Northern Neck Regional Jail.
Who's saying that?
Staff, management.
The staff in here?
Yeah.
Even though they were illegally arrested for a minor trespassing charge,
Well,
which is what it should have been. That was a minor trespass.
Exactly. They don't seem to really care about what the charges are. They treat everybody the same, which is like
I don't
dirt.
understand why are they going along with it though, because they are part of us, and don't they understand that?
So
They're supposed to be protecting the citizens.
I think that's one thing, that the message that we're trying to get across to the individuals here, that it's no different than any other thing throughout history. When we all sit by and go along with things, we are responsible as individuals.
Yeah, they say silence is violence. What they're doing is violence.
Yeah.
So you bring up a really good point, and this is where you're obviously aware of the Constitution and how it applies here.
Somewhat.
Yeah, I would think.
That's
So, but what happens is, there's bureaucracies everywhere, and they're not new to this country. And anytime a bureaucracy has been around long enough, well, actually, you got to be around long enough to become a bureaucracy. That's the way Peter Principle works. But what happens is, as a matter of operational convenience, the Constitution gets put on the back burner because it's more expedient to do things one way versus the hard way, which is demanded by the Constitution. And so a bureaucracy wants to save expenses, wants to become a profit center, wants to do all these things, and they forget about the Constitution. They took an oath, by all means, they definitely took an oath, but how quickly they forget. And they do it in unison. So there isn't somebody that's still around going, hey, wait a second, the Constitution applies here. There isn't somebody doing that in and amongst them. It takes us to hold their feet to the fire in order to do it, because the infection that is bureaucracy, it dulls the brain. They no longer care. It's not part of their operational procedures. They don't realize that if it doesn't stand here, it doesn't stand anywhere. This is why we have to fight for it. So that's the best answer I can give you.
So I want to go on about that that one piece of legislation, restorative housing. There was one of the advocates for that was Senator Morrissey, and I was looking for a quote by him. So that basically this is like a lot of legislation where both sides didn't get exactly what they wanted. They started out with a bill from the House and then another one from the Senate. They pass over. That's how the process works in Virginia. They have Passover Day, or crossover day is what it's called. So legislation from one house goes to the other and back and forth. And then they come up with a final version, so that's what they did. So one section that they tried to get, but that did not make it through, was a provision that says that prison officials can place prisoners in solitary confinement when such person's behavior threatens the orderly you know, some of the stories the guys have told us about being thrown in the hole for was they use foul language to somebody in a position. They push back against a nurse for not giving them their meds, things like that. So basically, it doesn't take much, you know, and you can get into solitary.
Very subjective.
Very subjective, and I think that's kind of has emerged here. As you know, the people that fill out the complaint forms, that's a check against them. And it takes somewhere around 8 to 10 complaint forms to get anything done.
Well, then they need to notify us and we can fill out the complaint forms for them and anonymously. How
So,
about that?
interesting question about complaint forms. So someone outside can fill out a complaint form for an individual within the facility, but once the complaint form is filed, and this is in the on the website, it's not on the website, it's in their code book, their yellow code book that they hand out to every individual in here. But it basically says that if someone else makes a complaint, when it's filed here with the administration, then that complaint, custody of that complaint goes from the prisoner to the person at the jail. So you're out of it once you've done it. Then they go back and forth with the prisoner, investigate it, and then come up with their results, which we often find out hearing in the jail board that no founding. There was no founding for that particular claim. And that was one of our supporters who's been out here quite a lot. Her son is in here still, and she's dealt with that. She's had lots and lots of complaints that she's filed over treatment of her son. So
It's kind of a closed box.
It's kind of a closed box. You've got the guardians at the gate that filter in and out. So you can get a complaint going, and unless it goes to some miraculously correct person, it really truly goes nowhere. They go through, they put their check box, mark their check box. All done. We're satisfied. It's not like anybody else's satisfaction is required. It's just theirs.
They're meeting the criteria.
Yeah, they meet the criteria. Therefore, we can move on without any
Throw the
hesitation.
monkey.
Yeah, it's insidious. You know, I want to just grab them all and feed them 50 hard-boiled eggs. Anyhow, so
Does anybody not know the reference?
I think you know the reference. Yes. Anyhow, so we're basically in a situation here where we've got the fox guarding the hen house in almost every aspect of what's going on. We do what we're doing because, and I say that
Because they need to be replaced. If they're not for the people, they need to get out of the way.
yes, I agree. But we're back at that whole government bureaucracy thing again. So we've got a guy here that I think everybody here knows is guilty as hell.
He's retiring in December.
But he's retiring and he's a government employee. To get the rest of the government that surrounds him to do anything about it under those conditions is pushing rope uphill.
So I have a comment on that.
So one thing I did hear that came out of the meeting is there was a question or a comment raised by maybe the sheriffs about the turnover. So turnover has been a problem here, and such a problem. In fact, I talked to one of the previous sheriffs who years ago was here, and the sheriffs of each of the counties typically sits on the board. And I had mentioned to him the amount of turnover, and he said, yeah, back when I was doing it, that was one of the questions we had because it's so frequent. Every month there's 4 or 5 people that are hired that leave.
What do you think that is? What's
Well,
the indication for
It
why?
seems that it's the culture, it's the way that people are treated here, it's the way they're expected to treat people that are here, that a lot of people, first of all, you see the sign out there, I think it's still there, it's up there almost constantly, now hiring, it's a constant open book. Go.
They lose at least 6 people a month.
How long has the person who's retiring been?
He's been here for 26 years, I think, 28, something like that, just under 30.
That's right, because he came here a year and a half after he actually started working for the state.
So you guys want to confirm that? 30 years?
30 years on state program.
Yeah, all right.
It'll be a little over 30.
28 of it was here. A little
And,
over 28.
and the history is important to go back. So this jail was put together out of a need locally. A couple of counties got together and said, well, you know, if we pull our resources together, we can get a better facility. It'll be more cost effective. And so Northumberland County, Richmond County, and Westmoreland County came together. Westmoreland County apparently was the one that was sort of leading the charge with it. And there's a couple of reasons that back that up. And then about 6 or 8 years ago, Gloucester County came in. Now, because Gloucester County came in late, they pay a fee of several $100,000. It might be $200,000 to $600,000 a year. So it's a chunk that they pay to get caught up because the other counties initially funded the construction and that kind of thing. So they're buying into it. But they claim here, they love to claim to everybody that this jail doesn't cost the residents of the counties a thing. And it doesn't, which is why, if you think about it, if you're a board of supervisor, a taxpayer in Richmond County or the others, the jail, it's kind of tucked away here behind these trees and doesn't cost us anything. You know, as long as they don't hear about any problems, they don't really care. So,
And we started making them be aware of problems.
yeah, and that's here's the next piece, which she got that call, I got sidetracked. At some point, 10 years ago or so, they started to take in federal prisoners from the Marshals Service, and they get paid for that. And they get paid a fair amount, a good amount, way more than it costs them. Their per diem rate is what it costs them per prisoner to care and house for a prisoner here versus what they get. And it's a moneymaker. So it helps to fund this whole operation to the point that it actually pays for the rest of the thing. Now, having said that, federal inmates here that have been convicted of rape, murder, you know, all kinds of different stuff, are in the general population here. And so what does that do to the poor people here that were in Richmond County that got thrown into the jail? Normally, you wouldn't have to be faced with a bunch of those kinds of people. Here you are. So I think that's important stuff for the citizens of our counties to understand. So what I heard was the board's requiring a monthly statement now with the details of why those individuals left. So they're going to interview those individuals. Is that what you heard? That's what I got via text from somebody else. Yeah, so instead of just listing, which they do, and it's in the minutes of the meetings, and I get copies of those now, and I can send them out to anybody who wants them. It's got the financial statements if you're into that kind of stuff. It's worth looking at because there's a few things that have jumped out to me there too. We should talk about more at our next meeting, but it's yeah, they've listed this person. Rarely is anybody fired. That's once in a while they terminate someone. Most of them are voluntary departures, and John Haynes actually FOIA'd a record for 2 years. So we have all this data, month over month over month. As Marie said, you know, it's 6 to 8 a month that are leaving on their own. So we have all this data where you could figure out what's somebody's average length of stay here, you know, as a basic corrections officer. Is it 6 weeks? Is it 6 days? Is it 6 months? I don't know, but it's enough of a turnover. And remember, there's only 100 employees here, including everybody in administration and, you know, the facilities leads and so on. So there's probably, you know, at most 60 people working in the back of the jail.
Yeah, it was like 5 or more than 5 people that left last month, more than 5. And then they had like 4 new hires, and that's quite a bit of people, 10%.
Anyways,
kind of gets back to what we were talking about before. The Sixth Amendment, if you read the second paragraph of the Sixth Amendment, it says that punishment doesn't happen before a conviction. And I'm paraphrasing, it's not supposed to. But because the Constitution says thou shalt not. It's one of the few places where there's a not. You will not do this. Until a man's been adjudicated. You know, you're going to make an accusation. His rights are still intact until he's been proven guilty.
Unless they declare him a terrorist, correct? Isn't that
Well,
how they got
so
around that?
and even that can be challenged, and if we can find the appropriate court.
Which is absurd, but I'm just saying that's
Right.
the loophole they're standing behind,
Right,
right?
and we
You're
can
a
thank
terrorist
we can
because
thank
you
W
held up
for
and said, I
that.
support the Constitution and the vote.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. You get it. You understand the irony. So, and this is critical because I think part of our task here is to wake people up that there is a Constitution. It actually has words in it, and it means something. But all too often, I bump into people and they say, "You know what the Eighth Amendment says? Oh, how about that Third Amendment? Do you know what the Third Amendment is? That first Bill of Rights, those 10 amendments, those were carved out on purpose. Those are the things that nobody should be able to take away from us, ever. And yet, that's what's under attack, probably because they know they can't be taken away. Or a president or anything else, they're all our God-given rights. And you can't take those things away. And as long as there's breath in my lungs, they will stay. The Constitution is a thing. No, you can't take that away. You can't touch this.
They're trying.
So,
Where's MC Hammer? Look him down.
so it's an interesting thing because I think one of the most miraculous documents I've ever read is the Constitution combined with the Federalist Papers. It's an amazing thing that those guys put together all those years ago. How did they have the insight? They didn't have the internet to go look up stuff, and I swear to God, I've got the internet, and if I had to come up with all of the knowledge and do all of the reading to come to the conclusions that they did, it would take me a lifetime.
They spent hours.
How did they do that?
Months.
Spent hours in prayer, and before
They had to.
It's thinking.
They had to, because that's not an easy task to have that kind of wisdom backed up with that kind of knowledge and insight to be able to say, you know what, if we don't do something about this, it's going to happen over and over and over again. And they did that.
But they also didn't agree on a lot of points, yet they still were able to come together and have,
And they
basic
did it because back then compromise as a word actually meant something. Now compromise is I give, you take. That's a compromise. So back then it actually worked because if you made a rational argument, even if the guy didn't really feel comfortable with your argument, he could at least acknowledge that it made some degree of sense and he could go with it. Nowadays, oh no, it's my way or the highway. And it always works out that way. I mean, how many compromises have we seen in the last several decades up there in Congress where, yeah, there was a compromise made, but it seems like the same side always gets the best advantage. It's not a good thing.
Did anybody see that Dianne Feinstein is now, she's given power of attorney to her daughter for her personal affairs, but she's still in Congress? There was a clip I saw where it was a roll call and she thought she was supposed to argue her points, and somebody just reached over finally and said, just say yay, just say yay. So,
110 years old now, right?
well, she should be gone, but here's something else I thought would be interesting to talk about. This is the 45-page document of the third indictment of former President Donald J. Trump. And it's been getting a lot of news, but as we started here, we're talking about number 4 is apparently on its way. That's from Georgia,
Yeah.
something to do with the,
Only needs one more.
the phone call.
You can't wait.
So,
You can't wait.
but this is just, if you've been following it, listening to any of the pundits talk about this stuff, you know anything, This whole thing it's a political hit piece. It's not it's not a legal filing that's going to hold up anywhere, but it's there. You know, it'll get thrown out eventually, but they have to go through the process. But here's the introduction. The defendant, Donald Trump, when the 45th president of the United States and a candidate for re-election of 2020, he lost the 2020 presidential election. Despite having lost, the defendant was determined to remain in power. So for more than 2 months following the election day on November 3rd, the defendant spread lies that there had been outcome determinative fraud in the election that he had actually won. These claims were false, and the defendant knew they were false. So
no one even knows to this day. No one to this day knows the truth.
Well, I remember watching all of those guys coming forth. The affidavits, you remember how many hundreds of people did affidavits and appeared before, you know, those different various citizens just like us that saw all this malfeasance going on, this shenanigans. But so Trump anyway disseminated his lies anyway to make his knowingly false opinions appear legitimate, create an intense national atmosphere of mistrust and anger, and erode public faith in the administration of the election. So that's Trump's fault that we're there, you know. Shortly after Election Day, the defendant also pursued unlawful means. Anyway.
Hello, this is a prepaid call from Daniel Rodriguez.
Daniel.
An inmate at the Washington, D.C. Central Detention Facility. To accept your current balance is $19.55. This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Hello.
Daniel.
Hello.
Daniel, how are you?
Hey. Good. How are you? You got Brian Jackson and Daniel Rodriguez here with you on the air. Hello, everybody.
Hey, Brian.
Hello.
How y'all doing?
You're doing all right.
Doing great. We've got a bunch of people here tonight, and a lot of people saying hello to you. I hope you hear it.
Fantastic. Yeah, I hope everybody's got a little bit extra motivation with the way that they're indicting Trump and going after him. I don't think that there's any other reason except to stop him from winning in 2024. And you know, they're just all trying to cover their butts. And everybody, if that's not enough motivation for you to see how crooked it is, I don't know what's going to get everyone's attention. Did you see that? What's that? What Trump put on Truth Social? What do you put? He said one more indictment closer to an election. No, I didn't see that. That's right. He's right though. Yeah. One more indictment to an election. So how you been, Tom? Has everything been good over there in Virginia?
Yeah, we missed you. Someone just said, and yeah, we missed calling you and talking to you guys. So I'm glad that your phones are working again.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been the issue?
Yeah. Yeah, we've been good for the last couple of days, so we got to keep our fingers crossed that they stay on. Yeah, we think that it was somebody messing with it and they caught him and now they're fired or something. Yeah, they turned the phones off. Now they're working all of a sudden, yeah, and like, I don't know. 6:30 and 9:30, they had the phones cut off. Yeah, you coincidental? I don't know. I don't think so. You would see like a 2-week period to go by, and then it works good for one day, and then all of a sudden it goes back to not working. So we're like, maybe someone's doing that, and it's his day off. I don't know what happened, but it's good that it's working, and yeah, we've had a hard time calling out to family, friends. A lot of upset people trying to get a hold of their lawyers, and there's nothing we could have done about it. So I'm glad they're working, and glad to hear you guys out there. And any news for us to share? Yeah, what's going on out there?
Yeah, well, first of all, hey, we're trying to get everybody's birthdays. Is that something you guys care to share with us? Because we want to be able to always give you guys a shout when it's your time.
Still here.
Well, my birthday's actually right around the corner, August 23rd. August 23rd, Brian Jackson, August 23rd.
Thanks, Brian.
It's going to be 45, what are you going to be, 50? 25. 25, okay.
A lot of people here are 25.
Mine, right? Yeah, mine passed. It was July 27th, and I got some letters and a couple of donations, and And thank you all out there for caring and not forgetting about it.
Well, happy birthday. Sorry we missed it. So we'll get you next time for sure.
I want him to be at home next time.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
Both of you are Leos or not?
Yeah.
Both of you are Leos?
Yeah. Well, we got out there tonight.
Well,
Yeah, who's out there, Tom?
yeah. So I think the folks that you might know is Maurice and Cheryl and some other folks that are part of our group that just wanted to come out and be part of it. So yeah, we've got about 8 of us or so.
Was anybody able to come out on Tuesday for the 1-year anniversary out here in DC?
No, we were actually, that was our meeting night, our monthly meeting. We were going to try to talk to Mickey, but I heard the counter-protesters were out there were really, really bad. Were you guys able to connect?
Well, we tried to call in, but it was so loud with the counter protesters, and they had Ron J. Spike, that rapper, out there doing some J6 songs. So it was just too loud to even talk to anybody. But we'd done some pre-recordings beforehand, saying our thanks to Mickey and everybody that been holding the vigil for the last year. So they had all our recordings they could listen to.
Yeah, we were anticipating the phones in case they shut them off for that anniversary, and since it was such a big deal, we didn't want to take that chance. And like you said, that there was music out there, and I guess those communist anti-Americans out there celebrated along with us on the other side of the street. I don't know, they're not out there every day, so it wasn't their 1-year anniversary. But yeah, they went out there trying to make noise and name call and all that. But our guys are just all smiles and happy and fighting for the future. And those guys are just trying to destroy the future and bring you down and bring the country down. And they're not ashamed about it. They're doing it not behind your back when they're not doing it in the dead of night. They're doing it right to your face now. They're openly hate America, and they don't care if there's a crook in the White House right now. They don't care if he's guilty of bribery or seditious conspiracy, whatever. It doesn't matter to these people. They're going to run them, and they're going to try to cheat again.
Yes, they are.
Of course.
Well, yeah, absolutely agree.
That's why I want to make sure they don't.
So,
I want on a
have you guys heard of the term restorative housing?
Restorative housing? I don't think so.
Is that on the HGTV channel? No, explain it.
This guy's a criminal. I want you to know.
I can tell. I mean, obviously.
Yeah. Well, it's a
I'm just joking. I know. Go ahead, tell us though.
It's a new law in Virginia that puts a limit on restorative housing to 20 hours per day. So that's their word for solitary confinement. I just didn't know if you knew it had a proper fancy name.
Oh, really?
I did not know that.
No, we don't.
Solitary confinement.
Restorative housing, right? Okay.
That's the reciprocal
All right.
attitude.
No, I didn't know that. So what is the new law again? Explain it.
It basically says that there's a limit that you have to be out for 4 hours a day, and not only that, but there has to be minimum of 4 hours, and it has to be a program and things where you are somehow or other helped along to change your attitude so you can be brought back into the general population.
Well, you see,
Yeah, that sounds great.
the Northern Neck solitary confinement, they take everything from you and leave you in there. Not even so much as a Bible, nothing. And they'll leave you in there for 15 to 20 days at a time. So are they complying with this 4 hours?
Well, that's what we're going to find out, because that law hit the books on July 1, and it also requires that they have a program on file available to the public that shows what they're doing to help the prisoners that have gone through that. So, yeah, we're going to be after them on that.
We'll be all over it, yeah.
Yeah, because I guarantee they're trying to get away with not doing that.
Now, when we were in Northern Neck, they were still putting J6ers in the hole And I don't remember who it was. It was one of us, one of the J6ers, smart guy. He told them, was it you, Ryan?
Yeah, about the, what was that? What was that guy's name that was in charge of the federal inmates there?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember his name, but they're not allowed to put us in solitary confinement.
So that was
at all.
Yeah, Brian said, you can't put me in there. I'm a federal prisoner. You're not allowed to. They wanted to, and he stopped them because he spoke up and knew his rights. But there's plenty of people in there that don't deserve to be put into that kind of condition, and they don't care. They'll make sure that people steal your stuff. They'll take you out of there in handcuffs, and they know knowingly that there's people that like, let's say you're in a mixed population area where there's a lot of tension. They know that someone's going to go take all your stuff, so they'll take you out of there for a few hours, and by the time you come back, all your commissary is gone, or your whatever it is gone. And they do that kind of stuff on purpose. They're real low down.
That's all them Gloucester boys. Y'all know about Gloucester, don't y'all? Y'all know where Gloucester's at?
Yeah.
Have you ever met some of the people that come out of Gloucester?
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of meth head junkies that come out of that place. They're in Northern Neck Jail.
I think
and they are some scumbags. I'm sorry, but
there's good people, I think, that come out of Gloucester. The problem is the drugs, and the meth is coming in from, I don't know if it's what is the town on the other side of the bridge there, but it's coming in from
Williamsburg, so I don't know.
No, it basically a lot of no, I don't know. The white people in Gloucester, which is mostly good income families, they have money, and these kids are getting hooked on meth. And I don't know if it's like a Spanish or black, but they're the ones that are bringing the drugs in. And I can tell you that they're not the ones that are in jail for doing the drugs. It's all the Caucasians from Gloucester, from these nice homes, and they're bringing those drugs into Gloucester. And unfortunately, these kids, they don't have much to do there, and they're getting hooked on. It turns you, those drugs are terrible, and if you get on them and hooked on them, they'll change you. That drugs meth destroys families.
It does.
So that's a bad problem. But if there could be some kind of programs in that town, something for them to do, to aspire to, be a dentist. Would be a great job in Gloucester. But I don't know what it's unfortunate, because I don't think that they're bad people. They end up turning into bad people because of the drugs.
Have you ever heard that joke about the toothbrush?
What's that?
Have you ever heard that joke about the toothbrush, Tom? Have y'all heard that?
No.
How do you know the toothbrush was invented in Gloucester? Because if it was invented anywhere else, it'd be called a teeth brush.
It would be called a teeth brush invented anywhere else. Oh, man. But yeah, Gloucester gives Virginia a bad name. But I know there's so many good people in Virginia.
We got towns like that in Texas too.
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of them.
I'm married a girl from Gloucester, just so you know. But anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen a couple cute ones in there. I was there 19 months, and sometimes you're traveling.
Well, they say Gloucester's actually a nice neighborhood. There's the backside of Gloucester.
Okay.
Right? Is where these.
I hear Guinea is where I don't want to be. You don't want to end up in Guinea. Past dark.
Yeah, you want to know the story on Guinea? So it's a point of land out there. It goes into the Chesapeake Bay, and it's very, very remote and lowland, grass, marshlands, and floods all the time. But during the Revolutionary War, a lot of the Hessian soldiers who were in here as mercenaries fighting for the British, they defected, and they ran out and they hid in the woods until after the war. And when they came out afterwards, they only had guineas, the coins to use to pay for things. And so they called them the Guinea men. and that whole area of Guinea was named after them. And they were some tough hombres. You did not want to mess with them, and you didn't want to break down out there in Guinea.
That's what I've heard. Don't go.
Yeah, so they still have some descendants of the man. A lot of people that stay in that neighborhood. Yeah, I know a lot of those families. They stay there for generation and generation. And yeah, I met people in Northern Neck that they claimed, their family goes back hundreds of years in that area. So, I think that's great. Yeah, I think that's awesome. A lot of the founders. People. That's what I like about Virginia. So much history. Yeah, great history. Absolutely, a lot. I hope I can go back to Virginia one day, guys, and get to see Washington's house and see some battlegrounds of the wars, and it sounds wonderful, and it's a beautiful country. It certainly is a nice area. The water, take a boat out there, and so you guys are lucky to live out there. It's nice. If it wasn't for all the corruption, it's spreading everywhere, the corruption, but I don't know.
Is a great place to live for a lot of reasons. This little blemish that we're standing in front of out here is not one of them, but hey, we're bringing light to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Okay.
We're probably going to call back around 9 o'clock, a little bit before 9, and y'all can listen to us sing the national anthem for the DC Vigil. So chime y'all in with us.
We got John Munafo and Michael Perkins lined up to call you guys next. I don't know if I think they're going to call together. Yeah, but I just want to say I hope everybody's getting ready to shift gears and fight for America and watch out for this 2024 election and keep an eye on these guys. They're going to get ready to cheat. They don't care about the Hunter laptop. They don't care about any of that stuff. They're getting ready to buy it. All right, let's get down next Friday.
All right, God bless you guys.
God bless you.
Thank you guys. You too. Be safe.
Thank you for using Global Tellink.
Daniel Rodriguez sentenced to 12 years, 7 months. You hear him talk?
For what was he sentenced for? What did they claim he did exactly? See, that's what I don't understand.
Mellower guy, the one that was just said,
Yeah.
the one at the end.
It's in right down there at the lower part.
He think it was so atrocious besides
Then
walking
Brian
in
Jackson
the
is
building.
the other guy. But he was the one that was talking most. He's 38 and 12 years, 7 months.
That's crazy.
So
And you listen to him talking, you go, how is this guy in
How
prison
could
at
he
all?
even have that attitude with that? I would be so angry.
This guy, his compass is true
I'm
north.
angry and burnt out, and I'm not even the one in there. I'm so
right?
angry, I could just, I'm like, this is,
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, somebody sent this to me today, my friend. And apparently this is true. This person was stuck at the airport. So I grabbed some food. I sat down to eat, and the waiter was from Hong Kong. He asked me where I'm going, and I said back to the U.S. He said, "Oh, you live in America. I saw today they arrested Trump." I asked him what he thought about it. He said, "It's obvious they're trying to stop him from being president." Folks, it's so obvious that a waiter from Hong Kong at the airport in Europe can tell what is really happening.
from another country.
He then said he loves Trump because Trump gets things done and he's tough on China. The rest of the world is watching and they can see through this charade of what it is.
Thank you. I hope they can.
I got friends in several European nations. They tell me straight up, we're waiting for the American people to wake up.
Some of us are awake, others are comatose.
Pretty much, and there's some that flat out will never wake up. It's tragic, but at some point you have to just say, well, those that are going to wake up already have, and those that are not going to won't.
It doesn't matter how much proof you put in front of their face, they're just going to fact check it with a false narrative.
So give your famous
when you
quote.
read,
There's none blinder
those who will not see.
than those who refuse to
The
see.
truth.
So that indictment that Tom was reading earlier, if you read through that thing, hey, it's pathetic. But B, it reminds me of a Q drop, and I'm sorry, folks, I'm bringing up Q. How do you legally enter evidence? It's easy. Get accused of the crime and defend yourself.
That's right.
Hello.
That's what's going to
This
happen.
is a prepaid debit call from
Okay.
an inmate at the Washington, D.C. Central Detention Facility. To accept from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello, hello.
Jonathan, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm joined by my friend Mike, and we had to give you a call. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. It's a nice evening out here. We've had great weather this week, and we've got a nice crowd here at the Northern Regional Jail.
Great, that's awesome. It's more than we can ask for, right? I mean, you guys are out there even in the rain. You guys are just you're die hard, and you deserve to be appreciated and noticed.
Well, I think that the reason we do it is because we want to give you guys your voice. So this is your nickel,
Exactly.
And anything you guys want to talk about, we're all ears.
Sure. Well, again, I'll introduce Mike. He came here, but I guess he stayed. I don't know if you got a chance, Mike, to speak with them at the...
No, I never did. I was at Northern Neck for I believe only 2 weeks, and I was going to call in that Friday, and then they pulled me out that Thursday, so I never got to call in to you guys. But I want to thank you guys for what y'all are out there doing. I mean, y'all are out there all the time and being a voice for us while we're here locked up, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing.
Well, listen, that's great. So, Mike, your last name's Perkins, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, we were hoping that would work, but yeah, those calls. The guys just now were telling us they think that it wasn't really a glitch with the system. It may have been somebody messing with it, but I know that really messed you guys up just talking to your family and everyone else.
Yeah, well, it did, but I mean, that's those of us who are loved. I myself have nobody other than Jesus Christ to talk to. So on the outside, but no. In all seriousness, it seemed intentional. It did, and antagonistic and very immature. But it got squared away after a few requests for complaints and things. So
yeah, and we had people on our end calling there quite a bit too. So. I think it all adds up, Yeah, we were calling people down there. So they said, geez, there's a lot of people calling about this.
Jonathan. I'm not writing.
Yeah. And it wasn't understandable if it wasn't for the fact that there are other people that talk to, and that didn't have that problem in other parts of the jail. You know what I mean? So the excuses were just, they didn't even make sense. But it almost seems as if it was on a timer, because you could almost, by the time, tell when your phone call is going to get dropped or you're not going to be able to call by what time it was. So that was weird.
No, it was. I was writing down the times. I got to the point when I was writing it down. It was around the same time every day, and it was right around 16.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you?
Yeah.
I believe somebody was doing it on purpose to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, I'm glad that seems to be sorted out because we miss talking to you guys, and I'm sure that that's personal reasons, for selfish reasons, but you guys need to be able to talk to your attorneys and everybody else. That's ridiculous. I find that's one of the things that. How's that for you guys now, where you are there? Are you getting access? Aside from the phone issues, are you getting access to your attorneys and so on?
Well, as far as attorneys go, I mean, when the phones were messed up, no, everybody in here we didn't know what to do. We were making complaints to every person we can. We were writing it up. We were trying to do everything. All of our families, as well as you guys, everybody was calling in because that was affecting us. People wasn't able to, schedule something with their attorney because then if you got it scheduled, you were missing the call because the phones were messed up all the time.
As far as I'm concerned, so far I haven't had much trouble, communicating with my attorneys. But that's just because they're so professional and they make themselves available, like on their number one case or something. They're fantastic, and they were able to craft a plea agreement that I would actually sign. So that was good and unexpected, but I'm very grateful. And I have sentencing on September 22nd. and we're looking at time served. So the judge is amicable, as well as the district attorney's office, and then of course my attorneys have been fighting for me this whole time. So.
Well, I'm glad
Good.
to hear you're happy and pleased, and you got good service, because I've heard some horror stories. So that's great. And so what was Jonathan? That was the September 22nd. You said was your sentence?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah. Do you know the time for that? Because we do try to make it up there sometimes if we can.
Oh, you're kidding. Well, there's going to be two people facing the same judge, myself and another man, at different times. So I believe one's at 11:30 or something like that, and I think the other one is at 3.
Okay.
So we don't know which one is ours, but one that we understand, one from the evening and one from the morning. So,
Okay.
or the afternoon rather. So, if I did know, I will let you know. It would be great to see support in the courtroom for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know you're going to have Mickey and Tammy and Nicole and the rest of them that are there all the time, and they just blow me away. The amount of time that they spend in that courthouse and supporting you guys and your families and all that, it's just awesome. So anything we can do to help, we will. And we'll look you up. You know, we can look it up on the DC court schedule.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's right. Yeah, maybe when I call in next, I'll get some clarification. That's enough. I mean, again, I have good contact with my attorneys, but you know, we just resolved the issue with the phones like just a few days ago. So, you know, that's it's just been slipping my mind there. But those are important things to know. You know, that's what's gotten me through this myself, is just, you know, not focusing on time, but keeping myself busy.
Yeah, yeah. So what are you doing? You doing a lot of reading and stuff, or what are you doing to stay busy?
Well, I have an issue in the environment, and it can be difficult to read, but yes, I do. And then, of course, exercising. I'll be completely honest with you, the people that even visit me get on me for it. I just don't. I know when I get out, I'll be happy to swim with the sharks in my hometown, the shark bite capital of the world. And we'll start my exercising then when I get back to Florida. I have to run fast from those sharks, you know?
Yeah, cool.
Boy.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, not to go on. Did you guys see the actual news article, the news about cocaine sharks?
Cocaine sharks? Somebody's nodding their head.
You saw that on the media?
I haven't seen it, but someone's nodding right here now about it. So
one of the,
yeah, tell us.
Mm-hmm. Well, so what's happening is that the drug smugglers very often will complete half their travel and then dump all the drugs in the ocean, mark it with a GPS marker, and then someone else will come and pick up the drugs out of the water, right? Well, the sharks have taken curiosity to these packages now, and they're biting into it. And then what researchers have found is they keep going back, and so they are being affected in some way by these bales or bundles of cocaine that they're finding in the middle of the ocean.
We're going to see Sharknado, right?
Strange, very strange. I'm telling you, and I'll tell you one thing. It's legitimate. It's not a joke. I was very shocked by that. Joshua Phillips covered it on NTD.
Wow. No, I haven't seen it. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an Epic Times guy, right? Joshua Phillips, I think. But,
yes. Yep.
Yeah. Wow, that's good. No, I didn't know about it.
Have y'all had any more Jay Sixers since I was there?
No, not that we know. That we know of. And by the way, we put $100 on your commissary, so just so you know that's either sitting here still, or you might have to do something to get it. But
thank you. That's awesome. No, really, thank you for that. I didn't know. The problem I have is I don't know where it's coming from. Or
that was the northern day.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, I never got it because it was that Friday or that Thursday that they pulled me out right before it came.
Yeah, that would have been, so the 4th was it was right on the 4th. It was on the 5th or the 6th, yeah. But anyway, it's earmarked with your name on it, and if you don't use it, they will.
Oh, I'm sure they will. Every place I've been to like 4 different places. And every single place, it's like they pull me out the day that commissary comes, and I've never seen the money. It's been like 2 months or so, and still no money has came back from none of the places.
Well, Tom, this is where I need to say that I messed up and I haven't told you about the process. There's an actual form here. Had I known this was an issue that you had, we could have got it squared. We will get it squared away. So they have a missing money form that the jails interact and just make sure that all the commissary funds have been returned. The thing is when they order it, they pull the order. So
Yeah.
Oh wow, gotcha. Well, I know that they carry a budget here on their monthly budget statement that's got commissary on it, and I don't think it's the profit they make on commissary. I think it's the amount of commissary that's sitting around, but I need to get to the bottom of it. But it's not little dollars.
No, and you know it's frustrating here at this jail because of the fact that they will only give me an itemized summary of my account once a month. I need one once a week. I need to be able to know who's making deposits, who's on my account. I thank this is what I do. I do a blanket thank you to anyone and everyone that helps because I don't know who did it. And one idea that a couple donators for some other people came up with was to deposit $99 or $100. Or 48, you see it so that it comes up and you'll know who's doing that because you've already discussed it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, how often do you guys get to utilize the commissary there? Because I know here at Northern Neck, it was not every day. It was like every couple of weeks or something.
Yeah. At Northern Neck it was every 2 weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
And here is once a week.
Right. But
if you long as you order by Sunday, you'll get it that Friday.
It takes a week for it to come.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have to have your order in by Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Order it in by Sunday, and it'll be here by that next Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to.
At least I've heard. Yeah, that's
Because the food, I mean, it sucks.
Yep.
The food they serve you, just like Northern Neck, the food was horrible there as well.
And I understand this is jail, and we're doing things on the taxpayer's dime, right? And it doesn't matter whether it's federal, local, or whatever, but they don't even try to make good food here. It's like, it's almost sadistic the way that it comes. And a lot of us, have to eat, because you just can't live totally off commissary, although it is what supplements. And, again, most of us in here have all they need as it is right now with the way things go. I don't want to speak for everybody, but at least for my sake, I'm very grateful to you and others that continue to reach out in that way. So
absolutely.
Well, I'm glad you guys are doing all right. I thought about Chris Quaglin, who was here and who was living off of his energy bars and stuff from commissary, because he couldn't eat the food here because it was poisoning him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has a serious condition with celiac disease, so he cannot eat and it causes inflammation for him, and it's very painful for him. And I remember, when I first met him, he was explaining it to me, and it was kind of heartbreaking because they didn't want to work with him other than that. Insurers and it's crazy.
Yeah. So there's a little bit.
But what do you do? I mean, if you don't have the money, or they're feeding you trash food, I mean, it won't give you what your body needs. I mean, I've been locked up, I think, only going on 4 months. And I believe since I was locked up to now, I've lost about 25 pounds.
Wow.
So, and that's because I was not eating. I mean, a lot of times it was just so gross from some of these places I was in, I just wasn't eating.
Well, I'll be honest, he lost his 20 pounds and I gained it because, I definitely used the commissary. So, I look like a different person than when I went into jail, and it's sad.
Well, that was also a lot of the moving stages, too. So I started out in Florida and then to Oklahoma to Northern Neck.
You have 1 minute remaining.
They would keep me for like 2 weeks, and it would take 2 weeks to get your commissary. So by the time I was about to get commissary, they pulled me out of my league. So,
well, they're going to cut us short, guys. It seems, no, it's right. Man, they're so on the ball with this 1 minute stuff. But is there anything you'd like to say? We'll give you the last word.
God bless you.
Did you hear that?
God bless you, folks. Yeah,
God bless you guys. We thank you and just appreciate everything you guys are doing out there and being our voice for us.
Well, we're just here to help your voice get out, so we appreciate you guys. God bless you.
I will see. Maybe I might be able to call back. It depends on the call. So I know you guys are still out there. It's getting late, but we'll see if that's a possibility. If you're cool with that.
I think that yeah, we were supposed to get somebody to call. Maybe we can sing the anthem with you.
Oh, that's right. Okay, you know what? That's what we'll do. So, all right, sounds good.
All right.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Love you.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye, folks.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
So which ones were they? Were they on there?
Well, Michael Perkins was the one that. Michael Perkins was here for just early July. Left right after the 4th. And it was a surprise to hear that he was even here. I'm not sure who found that out. But apparently it was just a passing through, because the last guy, Jeffrey Brown, was here from J6 until Michael.
Yeah, Michael was only here for about 5 days.
Yeah, and then Jonathan, I'm not sure when he was here, but well, it's on the list somewhere, wherever that is. Do you?
Damn, babe.
You have the list.
I do. I'm sorry. I watered it.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's kind of moist.
I tried to get their durations here at one point because I thought it was interesting, but
it is interesting. I mean,
I had Jonathan arriving here in January of 2021 and leaving in February of this year. So that's a long time. Wow.
yeah.
That's probably another way to sort this, as to not just when they were here, but knowing when they were incarcerated to begin with.
With no charges.
Well, and so that's where I was going with the Trump indictment. A lot of the charges, and I can send you some great links so you can look up these guys' charges, but remaining obstruction of an official proceeding, remaining in a restricted area, those kinds of things. Those are now, there were some guys who sprayed fire extinguishers at police officers, so
They did?
they did stuff like that. And there were several guys that picked up
Why did they do that? Did they say?
well, because things got crazy.
They got caught up in the flash mob by Antifa and BLM.
People were being fined until they started shooting the flashbangs into the crowd and the smoke and all of that stuff.
Them
rubber
creating
bullets.
the flash mob. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the one guy who grabbed an officer's baton because the officer was using it to beat somebody that was already down. And he was trying
Good
to
for
stop
him.
Yeah. And so there's some pretty bad things that happened, but it was, as you described,
It was orchestrated.
it was orchestrated. There was some smart people that understood human behavior and just how to get certain things to happen.
Well, once you get that many people, 5 million people, at some place, and there were, by the way, because the police told me so when I was there, that's what's going to happen when you get someone agitating a confined mob. They all jump in, and that's what they were doing. Yeah. And even then, they didn't get the results they wanted. What, 20 minutes of chaos? Is that what they got out of that? And they kept playing the same one tape over and over?
Yeah, made it sound like ours.
Yeah.
Which is probably why Ashley Babbitt ended up getting shot, because they didn't have the blood and guts that they wanted.
That's
Tariq
right.
Johnson, who was a Capitol Police officer, was told to gather up helmets. 30 helmets prior to January 6th because they were expired. Well, the process is I've been in construction all my life. Hard hats have dates on them nowadays, and they have. The process is, hey, I got an expired helmet, I take it in. My next time I go in to whatever and get it replaced, you don't just go out and collect, 30 or 40 of them.
In the middle of
No.
5 million people.
And think about the number of batons. How many of the guys that picked up batons?
Right.
Mason Corson picked up a baton and held it above his head, I believe. I don't think he hit anybody, but he's shown with the baton. There's batons everywhere, you know. So.
I have a very serious question that I had never had anyone answer for me to this day. How in the world can the world and everybody watching this one little clip over and over again not realize that it's impossible to have an insurrection when you don't have weapons? And I'm talking guns. Guns. If 5 million people were trying to overthrow our government, don't you think we would have done it? I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
So how are they convincing everyone this was an insurrection when there wasn't a single gun, to my knowledge, on anybody out of 5 million? Now, there might have been the Antifa and the undercover FBI that was there.
Turns out that
and
there was
BLM.
There was a little over 400 feds there that were all armed.
Okay, and there's the guns. But it wasn't the
the
supporters that were there for a rally to support the vote.
I think I heard of one person who was charged with a gun, but I'm not sure the details around that. But
so how can the world believe this was an insurrection? Yeah. I don't understand common sense.
Well, it's the same thing with the Trump indictment. You know, talking about an insurrection and using the terminology that they're using. So it was what they intended to do all along.
They think they're fooling the world with this.
Right. They can't. Okay. They cannot have him back in office. That's what this is all about.
Outside the United States, nobody's being fooled.
Let's hope not.
But we got a lot of idiots around this country.
Okay, that was just my question, because I still can't wrap my head around it, how you have an insurrection without an army.
Well, even Stuart Rhodes, Oath Keeper, who got the 18-year sentence.
Yeah.
Stuart Rhodes, was the leader of the Oath Keepers, but he didn't direct anybody to go do anything. The Oath Keepers that went inside went in on their own choice.
They were invited.
Yeah, they were invited in as they held the doors open and opened the gates and stuff.
I saw a video where 2 of the security guards were shown where to go.
Multiple videos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they had bullhorn. Don't forget the bullhorn. You all see that one where they're top directing them? Come on in. That's up there too. I think that was an FBI agent. I think they figured out. So how come we're not seeing all this and the American people, and especially our law enforcement? What are they saying about these? Someone made this up? Is that what they're saying? There was no bullhorn?
So you bring up an interesting question about law enforcement. So at the local level, law enforcement, your local county sheriff, he doesn't have a window on the details that the FBI and the CIA have.
You better get one.
They can't force that because it's kind of like Mother May I. It's the structure that they work with. They can have suspicions, but really hierarchy of stuff. If you're down here at the sheriff's level, you got to go through the state, who's probably corrupt, then through the feds. You got to follow the chain of command, and they're screwed. Our local guys are totally screwed. It's not
because if they don't do what they want, they're going to lose their job.
And they don't get enough information to know that it's the wrong thing. A lot of times.
But why can't they do what we're doing? Research.
Because they're busy working and getting their bills paid.
Okay, exactly.
That's actually the biggest problem. Did you know, again, with the numbers, in the entire free world, the United States works, the average person works 2,080 hours a year. In England, it's 1,940 hours. In France, it's 1,620 hours.
No, we're hard
as a heart attack. So we're literally, I'm going to use the word loosely here, slaves. We work 2,080 hours a year on average. That's a 40-hour work week.
So the corrupt government can use our money to create this havoc.
Well, not only that, but they keep us so busy working that we don't have time to pay attention to what they're doing.
Right.
Seriously, I mean, you think about it. If you work 9 to 5, you're going to be up by 6:30 to get ready and deal with your commute, if you're lucky. Now, my last couple of years, I had to work in Dahlgren, so that was a long drive. So I was up at 5 o'clock, get home at, 6? Half the time. So I didn't have time to look at anything, other than the fact that I was working in that cesspool. So that's probably the biggest problem that I see, is that all these working people, the ones that are raising children and everything, they're working and they don't have time
They just
to
don't
go
have
off
the
and do
time.
the research.
Yeah, I see that.
And,
You're
and
right.
it's
I was
terrible.
busy.
It's
Yeah.
rather insidious, actually, because they're using our way of life and our traditions against us in that particular way.
But they also, a lot of people just believe mainstream media.
Yes.
And
That's what we were
but
talking about.
they're not separate. So if you're working all the time, and I don't know how you do it. I know you work, and
Man.
I see what you do. Anyways, if you're working all the time, you come home. Imagine you're like 38 years old. You're some guy. You get home.
Supper, beer,
You
bed.
walk in. You got 3 kids there that are all screaming at each other, and you're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And the wife is working, and she's not home yet either. And so, where's your brain time to commit to
Right.
research?
You're right.
You don't have it. And so you go along, and the best you can hope for is whatever you hear on the radio to and from work, and that's about it. And what's on the radio? Mainstream media. That's it. So that's the disease. But if my mother can start waking up, there is hope.
Is she? Is she waking up?
I think she's waking up. She's a little bit uncomfortable about it because she knows that I told her in advance that a vote for Biden was going to be a bad choice. So she says, well, I just don't like him. Why, Mom? Well, because he's crude. He talks about women crudely. And I'm thinking to myself, do you have any idea what goes through the minds of most
Of the
men?
average male?
Yeah.
Exactly. And how many times a day?
I don't like the way he talks. And I'm thinking, you know, when I was working for the government, I used to deliberately hire autistic people. Why? Because they're the best hackers in the world. So just because somebody's got a quirky personality does not mean that they're not the best suited person for the job. You got to figure a guy that can do the job of the President of the United States. God, I hope he's an asshole on at least 12 dimensions.
Oh, that's one of the things I liked about him, because everyone else would run. They didn't want to tangle with that.
He thrived in the fight.
I don't know how he's...
Yeah, that's a really huge point right there. I don't know any human being in history that I've ever read about, Samson included, that could tolerate and survive mentally
what he has.
What he's been going
That's
through.
what I'm saying.
And you look at his family. They're
And they
stellar.
smile.
You go to his vineyard. They love him. They love his son that runs the vineyard, who goes there every quarter. They're good. I mean, they're healthy people. They're people who.
Well, so do you remember back in the late 80s or early 90s, was it? Where he did that ice cream thing in New York? It was in the late 80s, early 90s. Contractor fell through, didn't finish the job, and Donald Trump says, "Yeah, we're going to put a skating rink in there. We're going to finish that." Everybody loved it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everybody loved it. And they all loved him up until mainstream media said not to love him.
And said he was
All
a
of
bad
sudden,
guy.
How does that happen? What kind of drugs
And
do they use?
Rockefeller Center will be renamed in the future. Watch it.
Yes.
Let's wait for it.
That's going to be awesome. So this thing here, I'm thinking, you know, he's got it all. He said he's got it all. We'll have to see how it plays out, but we've got it all.
Well, part of it,
He
if you
said
think of it,
he's got it all. What?
Oh.
well, part of the indictment is it's an opportunity for the evidence to come out.
That's
now.
what he was
Exactly.
saying. That's what he's saying. We've got it all.
Yeah.
Now he can
So
present
yeah,
the evidence.
he's going to have to defend himself, and they're going to say, "Well, you're making all these accusations. Where's your proof that there's this election fraud?" Boom, there it is. Finally, the first
Thank
court
you.
is finally going to see the evidence.
Thank you. I hope so. I hope so.
So, and that was a problem. You'll remember back in 2020 and in 2021, all these courts, they didn't even want to look. They
Right.
just flat out turned it away.
Exactly.
Out of hand. They didn't even look at the evidence. If they had, well, it wouldn't have been as effective. And that's the other part that you have to acknowledge is that if things hadn't been playing out the way they have, if he took over and took his rightful position, now there's an awful lot of people would say, oh shit, he's a tyrant, he just did a coup. Can't do that. Can't do that. You got to do it by the book. It takes time. And you got to have a damn good plan.
So he says he needs one more. What's the
indictment.
What's the last one? I mean,
Georgia.
Why does he got to have one more? I don't understand
he
that.
made a speech on November, was it the 15th, when he did his announcement?
yeah.
He said, we have to wait for the people to show me that they're ready. And if you pay attention, every time he's indicted, his numbers go up. And he's looking for a magic spot.
Okay.
And when it hits that magic spot,
Boom.
boom.
Like he said last week, the masks are off. Oh,
That was a Freudian slip. I love it.
Maybe the masks will be on. That would be a great way to show everybody, right?
So it's you got to figure a guy that's as sharp as he is, he's not going to continue to press and run for president if he doesn't think there's a country to run
Okay.
for. So you got to keep that in mind, and he's got a better window on everything that's going on than any of us.
Let's hope.
I would hope. Then there's the soccer ball.
Right. Balls in your court, Mr.
Balls in your court. Got to pay attention here, folks. I got to ask everybody a question. Why, since the cessation of the Russian airlift, has the United States media declared that Russia is evil?
Well, because President. That would be one
Today
part of
that
it.
works, but we all grew up thinking that Russia was the big boogeyman.
Right, the bad guy.
We
He's
got
supposed to be
movies
the bad
about
guy.
it, we got cartoons about it, we got all kinds of crap. We got magazines, Mad Magazine, all about, Russia and their system. Now, don't misunderstand, Russia's had bad rulers.
We've all had bad
The
rules.
Russian people, they're not bad people. In fact, nation to nation, Russia makes the perfect ally. Perfect ally. So why has our media and editors and newspapers and books always, without fail, painted Russia as the bad guys?
You need a boogeyman.
Got to have a boogeyman, and if you don't have a boogeyman, human beings are weird. If they don't have a boogeyman, they'll create one.
Right. Got to have a bad guy and a
Got
good
to have a
guy.
bad guy.
That's not bad.
And so, all of a sudden, then you got this guy that's former KGB. Putin. Okay, that's fine. A lot of guys had former jobs. We got a lot of guys that used to be in the FBI and the CIA that are doing stuff. Is that any different? Does that mean that he's bad? No, that means he was probably working for his. Imagine that. That's
Imagine
what you're supposed
a
to
leader
do if you're the
defending.
leader
Well,
of a
that's what I
country.
told
You're
my
supposed to
husband when
take care
this
of
broke
yourself.
out.
What Trump told everybody when he got
Exactly.
in office. I
What
want
kind-
for America, you should be for England if you're English, or you
Exactly.
should be for Russia if you're Russian.
Exactly.
I've always felt that way, and that's why I'm a
So-
Ukrainian sister-in-law.
Again, I'm like, is everything that the common person that's working 2,080 hours a week, is everything they're being told about Russia true?
No. I already know this.
No. And the same thing, but you got to flip it over now. Of our allies, who's good? I would say Australia has bought the farm. They're done. New Zealand, they're also bad. And God save the Queen. England is just awful. But here we are on the northern border. Everybody's worried about the southern border. We need to worry about the northern border. Because you know what those guys got going on up there? They got entire military bases that are staffed completely by Chinese military.
Oh, God.
In Canada.
I didn't know that.
I wasn't aware.
It's happening. It's all up there. And so I was reading yesterday. Was it yesterday? Maybe the day before. They got Chinese leaders coming over here and buying houses and setting up shop. Really? How is that happening?
So is this a distraction tactic from our government? The flooding of our country?
Distraction tactics come in many different colors.
Right.
A whole lot of colors. For example, I'll give you one scenario. So, the DOD puts out a request for proposals, and mom and pop, they go, holy crap, Dad, when you look at this, we're going to make a fortune. This is right up our alley. And they go ahead and they put in a bid. Yeah, we'll do that job for you for $18 million over 6 years. Cool. So mom and dad, they get the contract. They go out and they take out a loan against the contract so that they can tool up and get everything set up. And then all of a sudden, the contract gets pulled. And mom and dad are on the hook.
They've already invested.
But then some unknown company comes in that's owned by China. We'll just let you know that in advance. Owned by China, and they'll say, you know, mom and pop, you've already got this contract here. And it sounds like they haven't completely pulled out. You could probably work that. We're going to buy you out. We're going to save your credit rating, save your home, save your grandchildren. Lo and behold, the contract's still good. The contract never got shut down. In fact, all the communications about telling the mom and dad that the contract was dead was fake. So mom and dad panicked on false news from the Chinese. The Chinese come in with a American registered company that they just happen to control and own, and they get a DOD contract that the DOD can't cancel. This is a known technique. Trust me on this. So, the infiltration runs deep. Really deep. They've been doing this for a long freaking time. And when I think of all the stuff that I happen to know about it, like, this plan better be fucking good. Excuse my language.
I can't edit that.
This plan better be good because it's deep and it's wide. Really deep and wide. So, there was an article.
And you're talking about the plan.
The plan that is, to me, it's an obvious plan. There's something going on here. None of this is
what it appears to be.
Well, it's not what it appears to be, and there's an underlying current here that's. This is not an accident. None of it is an accident. Neither, yeah, it's. I'll go with a sting operation. It's freaking huge. Pay attention to the Catholic Church. Pay attention to Walmart. Oh, that's another thing. Pay attention to Walmart. You familiar with the concept of 15-minute cities? 15-minute city is a city where everything you need to live on is no more than 15 minutes away.
By walking.
By walking. 15 minutes away.
Okay.
So what happens is you start to see Walmart shutting down stores. And I'm picking on Walmart because everybody knows about Walmart. They got the super center. Everybody goes to Walmart to
If
buy
it
their
isn't at
groceries.
Walmart, you don't need it.
Yes, exactly. If it ain't there, you don't need it.
Not anymore.
So when
That was
Walmart,
their motto
when
all the
Walmart
time.
shuts down, let's say that Walmart in Kilmarnock is going to shut down. Well, the first thing that's going to happen is, and you'll see this, is that the people on the lower end of the socioeconomic scale, they're going to have to go find out where the closest Walmart is, and they're going to move to wherever that town is.
Oh, really?
Yes, they will, because they can't live without Walmart.
Okay.
They can't. They can't afford to buy food. I mean, Walmart sells 80% beef that's actually 73. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, you end up with the people on the lower end of the socioeconomic scale moving to wherever the Walmart happens to be. Well, labor force in that community. So when they leave, who do the companies that are left behind hire? Well, they're going to have a problem. We're already seeing this in Northumberland County. So if you can't hire people because they all left, what do? You're going to shut down and you're going to end up moving your business to another location closer to where Walmart is. People are going to move to.
This is already happening in other countries.
It is happening in other countries. So once you get all these workers to move to where Walmart is, and you get the businesses that they used to work in to move to where Walmart is, or shut down altogether, then what happens when you got folks like you and me who are looking for goods and services? All of our local businesses have shut down. Now we have to drive to where that Walmart is. And after a while, you get older and you don't like driving, so you move to where the Walmart is. And the next thing you know, you're in such a densely packed area, everything you need is within 15 minutes of walking.
Well, we also have to point out about how they're going to monitor us.
Yeah, there's that part
and
too.
If you move out of that 15-minute range, nothing will work.
That's right. You move outside.
Well, that's part of the passports with COVID, the vaccine passports and all that kind of stuff. It's just another way to get control over who's where and what they're doing.
Exactly.
You can't charge anything on your credit card because you're out of that 15-mile range.
Wait, say that again.
15-minute city, and all of the infrastructure that our enemies want to have in place in that 15-minute city. If you go outside of that 15-minute city, you can't buy anything.
Gas, food.
You won't be able to buy gas.
I don't understand. Why wouldn't you?
Because they monitor everything.
They'll shut everything down. You're monitored. You're being tracked. They know where you live.
Who's they? Our government?
That's a good question. Who are those people? They. Who is they? It is our government, but more importantly, it's our banks, the central banking system.
Right.
They're the ones driving this whole show. The banks. It's not Google.
So why do they want everyone in a 15-minute cycle? I don't understand what's the purpose of that.
Control. They want to control everybody.
So they have the masses all in one spot so they can take us out or do whatever they're going to do.
They can kill us. Right. So, you ever hear of the Georgia Guidestones? So there was this guy back in 1976, Richard Christian. Richard Christian was his name. That's a pseudonym, but it's assumed that that's not what his real name was. Walks into a bank with a suitcase full of cash. And he pops it down on the assistant manager's desk and says, "I'm going to hand you this money. You need to keep it secret. You're not going to tell anybody what my name is, and you're going to make arrangements for the contract to put these stones over here on this location, and we're going to do it just so." Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, that assistant manager died.
Also under the Guidestones.
Yeah, the Guidestones got blown up last year. But the Guidestones were kind of like, they had words engraved on them in like 7 different languages.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the very first things was like, it reads almost like the 10 Commandments.
Okay.
But one of the very first one says, keep the population down to 500 million or less.
In the world.
In the whole world.
Okay.
500 million people or less.
All right.
That means a lot of people have got to go.
95%.
95%
Yeah.
got to go. So, it's just, there was some other things in there that if you read them, you would think, that sounds like ESG now. But it's all about control.
Okay.
It's just weird that some anonymous dude would pay a lot of money to have those things put up and turn it into some kind of Loch Ness Monster kind of mysterious story. But, so you got that. Then in 2015, you got Bill Gates doing a TED Talk and saying, we got too many people.
Right.
We got too many people, but
COVID.
we can fix that with judicious use of vaccines.
Yes.
That's almost verbatim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Look at that.
Yeah.
TED Talk, and use the vaccines, and the vaccines will kill the people.
Bill Gates is just a nasty individual. The research that they've done on people in Africa by giving them vaccines and practicing on people, and just it's abhorrent what they've done to those people over there. That's why
They used them as lab rats, in other words.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an experimental petri dish.
Well, since he has a patent on the virus.
He does. So yeah, that's
Bill
another
Gates
thing.
has
Is,
a patent on the virus, so
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Bill Gates,
Has a
Anthony
patent
Fauci,
on the COVID virus?
they've all
Yeah.
got their names. There's a whole bunch
Years
of
ago.
people with their names listed on patents for SARS
Oh.
1 and 2 and H1N1 and a whole bunch of other ones.
and that was many years.
Yeah, and so was it last year? About 18 months ago. I pull it up. I could go to the freaking patent office and I could pull up these patents and read them with the names on them and everything. And then all of a sudden, this thing became a reality. These secret patents. And all of those patent documents disappeared from the patent office. I'm sorry, I saw it. I can't unsee it, but that stuff happened.
Oh, I believe it.
So
I've seen videos that get removed, and I can't find them anywhere ever again.
I might have them. I've been doing that for a couple, few years. Everything that I see that
I mark it, and then I go back, and it's been removed.
I download them, so I've got
Yeah, I'm
them
gonna
on
have
my
to.
own environment. I get a hold of those videos.
So did you see? You didn't see Sound of Freedom, did you?
Not yet.
Well, Cheryl sent me a video, and in one of those videos talks about that he was talking. What's his name again?
Tim
Tim
Ballard.
Ballard was talking about his central spot is in North Carolina or South Carolina, where they have their central office.
Okay.
And they're putting pieces together to help governments. They only go by police departments and governments. They don't. It's not a vigilante thing that they do this.
Right.
They do it the right way. And he said they need people who are savvy in tech. They need people to help. There are a few more pieces that have to be put together.
I could do that.
So watch the video. I might send it back to you and show you the video that had it. He's told where to contact them because they need people who are tech savvy. And it's to put the last few pieces together that they're trying to give to these departments so they can nail it.
I'd love to be a part of that. That would be awesome.
Do you remember the last email you sent me? It's one of those videos.
Okay, I'll look at it.
And you just bing, flung up.
Yeah.
You'd be awesome with that.
Yeah.
And there's somebody else I thought of that would be good with that. Arthur in our library. He teaches. He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenally tech savvy. I mean, he's found himself getting into websites that are government protected. And
Yeah,
like,
I know how that goes.
amazing.
Yeah, there's some pretty wild stuff that can be done.
So
you'd be
you might
surprised.
be able to help him out.
Yeah, if there's an opportunity there, I think I want to check that out. That would be just so awesome.
It sure would.
You know, all my life I've been one of these guys that I don't want to sit back and wait for somebody else to do the right thing. If there's somebody that's offending, I'm like, what was his name? Job from the Grapes of Wrath? When he gives that speech at the end of the movie, whenever this guy gets beat up by a cop, I'll beat him.
You and the movie references. That's two at least tonight.
I can do more.
What we have here is failure to communicate.
Yeah, what he wants, he gets. Yeah. That was an awesome movie, by the way.
It's uncanny that the warden in that facility just reminds me of this one. Just they're
You can't make this stuff up, can you?
What
No, it
movie
is
was
uncanny.
that?
Grapes of Wrath.
Cool Hand Luke.
Cool Hand Luke.
Oh, Cool Hand Luke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Grapes of Wrath was good.
Oh, okay. Cool Hand Luke
Grapes
is a
of,
movie.
everybody needs to own Grapes of Wrath. We need to. Grapes of Wrath is an awesome movie.
Movies to see.
A lot of those old ones are awesome.
They are. You know what? It's unfortunate that the younger kids can't appreciate them because they lack special effects.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I remember watching Alfred Hitchcock. Terrifying. Right? There was no special effects in that. That was all just camera action.
Yes,
Oh,
her
hey,
birds were pecking.
yeah.
I cried myself
Like
to
the
sleep.
old Godzilla movies.
Yeah, the old Godzilla. You remember the very first Godzilla?
Oh
It was,
my God.
Chased
Godzilla
that
versus
woman
Bambi.
and got in her head.
Oh, I remember watching those Chinese movies where they would talk and the mouths would
Never
move and
matched
the
the mouth.
sound would
Oh
go.
God, I can't
Yeah.
stand
I
those.
remember watching one where this terrorizing monster was, you could literally see a man in a costume crawling on the beach.
Oh, that must have been Mothra.
Oh my God. It's hilarious.
Yes.
So, it's the stuff that's going on. So, this story that's playing out right now, this is not the first time that humanity's gone through this. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that will tell you, oh, we've never done this before. Oh, that's not true. Now, but in World War I, they were doing the same thing.
You're saying it's the 12th and
This is
final.
the 12th and final time.
12th and
This
final.
is the last battle. This is the
12th and
last
final
one.
time that this is going to happen.
And that's from biblical stuff. And you got to go back and read some of those religious books that come. Well, the Book of Enoch. If you read the Book of Enoch, you'll see a bunch of stuff in there that talks about how things are supposed to play out. And it turns out that 144 number, that plays a role in this story. And it's just amazing to me how many parallels there are between ancient history with the Bible, ancient history with other religions, and it's all, they're all together. They're all happening right now. They're all here. So, to me, I get stressed out about it a lot because if it goes the wrong movies go, this is the best movie I've ever
Wow.
watched in my life.
Just never forget who's in control.
That's right.
Well,
That's right.
Speaking of faith, I saw you commenting when Jonathan, or was it
It was
Daniel?
probably Daniel.
Daniel was speaking, you know, and I have to say that faith that these guys have
is incredible.
It's
That's what-
incredible.
That's what's keeping them going.
Yep. I mean, you look at Robert Morris, for instance, who did that code of conduct, which was 16 different, not paragraphs, but 16 different sections about how they needed to behave in here so that they, first of all, recognized that what any one of them did gave a name to all of them. So we need to hold ourselves above, and it was
And that's on his website.
It is?
yeah.
Yeah, go on Morris's website, www.aka.com.
You sound like an infomercial.
But that's the way it actually reads. I got it right here.
Yeah, and on that it's it has one part that says the code of conduct.
And I don't know. I mean, a lot of these guys, no doubt, were religious before, but I think some of them kind of maybe
I think their relationship with the Lord has been
grown. Yeah.
I was watching today.
and what's happening to them would be a thing a catalyst for them to understand he's the only, like, who was it that said, I only have Jesus?
Somebody said, and I'll have to try to remember this because there's been some great comments, but he told me the story. He said, at one point, when I got to the point where I was breaking down, he goes, if people tell you that they don't break down, they're full of it, because everybody breaks down in here at some point. He goes, and when I finally, and he said, the answer that came back was because you can take it.
Yeah, that's why we were chosen.
So,
I was watching today Robert Morris on the Cowboy Logic, the June episode, and how he was saying about how he got the name Leatherman.
We will.
This is a prepaid call from detention facility. To accept this call, press 0. To refuse this call, your current balance is $17.92. This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello again. Hey, we're back. Good. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, we hear you. We hear a lot of noise in the background. You must be out with everybody.
Yeah, we're out in the day room right now. We're outside the studio right now. We're getting ready to do this national anthem here next few minutes. Yeah, we got about 4 minutes, but I forgot to mention or ask you guys. Did you guys catch that release by National Post? The Capitol Police Chief Steven Sund, the interview he did with Tucker Carlson. Are you guys familiar with that?
Some people are saying yes. I haven't seen it personally.
So basically, there was remember our beloved Tucker Carlson got fired from the footage of Jake Chansley, the unseen January 6th footage that they were fighting to withhold, and anyways, they showed Jake Chansley getting escorted around the Capitol building. Well, he was going to release more stuff, and then he got fired. Basically, he did an interview with the Capitol Police Chief, and, quote, it was crawling with feds. The government is involved with the cover-up of what happened January 6th. And that's a quote from the police chief, Steven Sund. And basically, there's a cover-up. You know, Fox hid this. There was FBI agents there, Homeland Security there, and Sund said in over 30 years he's never seen anything like this in terms of undercovers in the crowd. And then we also know about the Antifa, BLM type people that came on charter buses, all dressed in black, and then they all ran to the stands, you know, the souvenir stands, and bought all that Trump gear, and then they put it on, acting like they were Trump supporters. So, you know. But, hey, guys, I got a special guest here, Zach Rio. Zach? Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Zach.
One of the famous Proud Boys that was in your beloved Northern Neck jail there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually called in before, too, but hey, I just wanted to say hi again.
Well, thank you.
See how you guys are doing.
We're doing great. We're
Yeah.
happy that we can talk to you guys.
Yeah, we'll see if we can. I'll try to get him to call in next Friday. If I don't know if I'll still be here, but yeah, we got a minute down to the national anthem. But yeah, if you guys all listening can go look at that national polls released by the National Polls, the Tucker Carlson interview with Capitol Police Chief Steven Sund, SUND. But all right, guys, we're gonna put down the microphone for now, and just hope you guys are all out there and for the anthem. Stand by for the anthem and stand for Trump. Y'all ready?
We're ready.
All righty. Everybody together.
All right, we're back. Are you guys still there? All right, how did that come up? Can you hear it?
Yeah, everybody's just completely stoked.
Want to mention anything about your time in Northern Neck? How was it?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there long. Like I said, I think I was on a show maybe a month or so ago too, playing that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a mess over there. I mean, I appreciate everything you've done to get it down to Northern Neck Patriots, right? Yeah. I remember when I first got there, I got taken to court because we were getting ready to go to trial and everything, and yeah, it woke us up at like until like 11:30 the next day. So it's like, I kind of lost it at that point. Like I was pretty sick off. I was like about ready to go to a 6-month trial, and basically getting told that I was only going to get like 3 or 4 hours of sleep every night. And well, yeah. When it's shift change at Northern Neck, it's shift change, and that guy doesn't care what he left for the next guy, and then by the time the phone attorney will be all right for 15 hours. Yeah, they'll throw you in a minute. They'll say, oh, we forgot all about you, like it's normal, you know. Yeah, but I started reaching out to the media, and talking to anybody who would listen, about that, and I got me and my co-defendants, we ended up getting moved right before trial, and then. Probably a couple weeks into trial, we heard that the rest of everybody else got moved and everything. So, everything y'all do is everybody who spent time in Northern Neck. Well, thank you as well. But glad that they're not in there no more. Yes. Especially with the new law that passed about solitary confinement. Well, yeah. What about that? You want to tell Zach about the solitary confinement law?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not called solitary confinement. It's called corrective housing.
Corrective housing. Okay. Now, is that for just Virginia?
Yeah,
or is that for? Yeah. Okay. So what about 8-9 months ago? Corrective housing. Yeah, correct. So supposedly he tells us that you're supposed to be let out 4 hours, not 2 hours a day.
Right.
Okay. So when was this? July 1st.
July 1st, yes. Yep.
Okay. So they moved it down there right before the law went into effect. Yeah. All right. Glad to hear what that. Hopefully it has domino effect in all these other states about it too. So. Hey guys, how's the oil? How's the price of gas? Is the economy any better out there? Northern Neck.
No, it's creeping up again. Creeping up.
I just read today that the Biden administration blocked more than 1 drilled in Colorado. So I don't know. Is he saving that oil for China? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's all just to drive the price higher and make it harder for everybody.
Clone sales.
Sure, it is hard for everybody. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, it is. All I can tell you is I tried. I tried.
Hey, guys,
so yeah, hopefully.
Thanks so much for calling us back. We love being able to sing with you guys.
Yes,
it's just it makes us feel like in some little way we're right there with you guys, and we are in heart and mind.
What did she say?
I said, remember, God is in control.
Could you really hear that? Sorry.
Yeah, God is in control. Just remember that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. God has a plan. Devil's not gonna beat us.
Amen.
All these snakes here in DC, they don't know that when you say illegal to these DC people, they think it's a sick bird.
Yeah.
An illegal. Yeah, right. Yeah.
They are a sick bird.
Yeah, but I'm glad you guys are out there. I can tell you personally that because there's support out there, because we do get donations. even the visits, it makes such a difference to somebody like me, where my family and my friends who I thought would be there aren't there, and you guys all fill in that gap, and it's just wouldn't be the same. It's made it so much easier, and thank you all. We have the Lewisburg Vigil, the Northern Neck Vigil, the DC Vigil, and all across the country, everybody has not forgot about us, and thank you all. We love you all, and we'll never forget that. I will never forget what you guys are doing for the rest of my life, and thank you all for this.
Yeah, that's second that for sure.
Well, anything at all that we can do for you, because if they can do this to you, they can do it to anybody. All right, so that's why we're here.
Yeah, they're planning on it. They're planning on doing it to anybody who gets in their way. It's whatever they can get away with. They're going to do it. So we can't let them get away with it.
Yeah, it's just straight up it's disgusting precedent that they're trying to push through. With the sedition charges and the 1512 charges. Obviously, I mean, they just threw the 1512 at Trump. So it should be interesting to see what turns out on that. Hopefully a Supreme Court ruling gets expedited in the future based on that, the legality of it. Obviously, 1512 for witness tampering or document destruction or whatever. As far as the sedition conspiracy, there's rumors that Trump is going to get a superseding indictment with that in the coming weeks or months. That's another one. I mean, this charge was created, in the Civil War era for people who are planning on, literally overthrowing the government through murder and war. And here we have people like myself and my co-defendants and some other people, soon to be the president of the United States. We're charged with it. Ask your representative to look at something for it, that you're concerned about, and it's a disgusting trample of the First Amendment, and it's something that, it needs to be nipped in the butt. And
don't forget, on January 6th, we weren't allowed that courtesy like BLM and Antifa when they the police get on a blowhorn and say, disperse the crowd. Nobody came to reason, to speak out, and that's done at all the rallies out there. All the left take over police precincts. They.
You have 1 minute remaining.
They were doing so much more for them, and they treated us like we're the enemy, wearing red, white, and blue. And there was the proper signage wasn't up that said don't trespass, or they had all that stuff up the neck out there. Thanks for supporting us, and get involved with this 2024 election, guys. Get more people involved. We got to catch them red-handed. We're going to catch them because they're going to do it again. They don't care how illegal the Bidens are.
Hey, I actually just put out a letter on the Gateway Pundit. You go to Defend Zach Twitter or Defend Zach on Truth Social. You can read my letter that I put out from the Gateway Pundit. It's a little background on me and a little background on my situation, and maybe you can help out any way you can there, do and share it out there. I appreciate it.
Sounds good, Zach. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. You guys have a good night.
Hang in there, guys. We're behind you.
Thank you for using Global Tellink.
So these guys are like the heroes.
Yeah, they are.
I mean,
they're the sacrificial lambs.
They're the sacrificial lambs, to be sure, but look what they do at 9 o'clock every night. Every night they do that national anthem.
Yeah.
9 o'clock. In fact, you ever been to a Trump rally?
Thank you, Ava, for your texts all the time, and everybody else that's listening in. We appreciate you so much. You hear the voices of these guys. They love you. They love the fact that we're here and we're supporting them. So thank you all out there. Spread this far and wide. Northern Neck Patriots on YouTube. Have a good night.
So is this the J6s that are doing this?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it's not the prison.
No, it's just the